What's going on, everybody? Payneblade back here again from Server 1 representing Itachi and Tribes Lab, and guys, it's finally here, the official Tribes Lab tier list, including Sasori, Deidara, and Tobi, and my opinions on where Itachi and Sasuke should be. Now, I normally would do this on the fly with you guys, put up the characters where they belong, but because we have so much content to cover, I decided to go ahead and make the tier list ahead of time, and we'll just talk about what the changes are, where the new characters belong, and some of the notable changes that have happened on this tier list. As all of you know, with all my videos that have been coming out, there has been a massive power creep with these new characters, and more are coming out, so stay tuned for that. Don't focus too much on the old characters if you're a brand new player. And also check out my videos if you want to know exactly my thoughts on the power creep and who you should be focusing on rather than focusing on the wrong character. Save yourself some time and some resources. But without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So the first place we're going to cover is Arena. Now, Arena tier list primarily stayed the same, but we've got 3 new additions with Tobi, Sasori, and Deidara, and we're going to talk about that first. So the first thing you're going to notice is there's a brand new tier list rank called SSS, and that's right, we've decided that it is about time we added a new category because there are new players coming out that are so powerful that they pretty much dominate the SS class and will get too overcrowded. So let's talk about that first. The first thing you'll see is the new Deidara sits on top of that class. Now, this is not in any form or any type of order, but he does definitely belong there. He's probably going to be the biggest damage dealer up to this point, actually. Someone may eventually replace him, but at the moment Deidara is the best AoE damage dealer, might be overall the best damage dealer in the game, just because of how much damage output he has with his AoE. Now, he also does damage, crit damage increase and crit rate increase, and has crit suppression on his LB2, so he is like the old Deidara, except without a stun, but almost 7 to 10 times the damage. So you can probably see somebody hitting him, like someone like Blue or myself, doing about 900k to 1 million to all characters rather than just one. So makes him extremely deadly. So that's where the new character sits. He is now going to be the king of AoE until they bring out someone who can actually topple him. Besides that, though, guys, the list hasn't been changed too much. We have Kakashi OG still sitting out top as the king. We have Hebi OG, who in my opinion are very much tied. Both of the characters are fantastic, and both are still some of the best characters in the game, but keep this in mind for new players. You don't want to focus on them if you're brand new at 3 stars. Save your resources until the new power creep characters do come out. Sage Mode Jiraiya is another one who's fantastic. Almost impossible to kill due to his healing, and he has a stun and a burn, and also when the moment you lose characters, he actually gives additional buffs like guard rate and damage reduction rate up. And then you have someone like Sai, who's an SR, who sits at the top of the class because of his uniqueness. He is the only character in the game, guys, that gives chakra to every single ally you have on the field, whether he's there or not. And that it makes him probably the most invaluable character in the game for all events. So Sai definitely deserves that. Now, SS, Sasori sits there at top of that class. I personally think he probably could belong in the triple S class. He's teetering between the two of them, but I can see why, because he is dependent on status effects. SR Hebi hasn't changed. Sasuke Kirin has not changed. The old school Deidara has not changed. Gaara is still amazing as a tank, don't get me wrong, but there are going to be better ones, so save your resources. Mama Sakura, still an undeniably fantastic SR character, and still probably one of the best support characters in the game, and that will continue. Hidan, extremely powerful tank with a lot of utility for A classes, plus he can actually nuke pretty well. And then of course Kamui, who has been fixed. We have all tested, and we've noticed, guys, it was a visual bug, so he still works as intended, making him still belong in the SS category for Arena. Now, Tobi, on the other hand, being the only SR from the 3, actually does really well, but he is niche, and he will definitely benefit fighting against D units, and that's where most of his resistance damage reduction comes from. So damage rate reduction comes from. So definitely great character, has a brand new percentages for AoE, does a burn and a stun, so that makes him extremely valuable in Arena, but he only does have the debuffs on D units, which kind of makes him niche again. So he sits in S. Then you have Sarada, Pain, Kakazu, CM2, Sage Mode Naruto. Naruto UR, in my opinion, can start falling down to the A+ at this point, even though he is a great nuke. Without the 25 weapon fragments to get us past his LB2, he's becoming extremely unusable. I mean, he's still decent for nuking, but in Arena, I just don't believe he belongs there. So in my opinion, that should be an S. But remember, guys, this is voted by quite a few members from the Tribes Lab team, so I'm not going to override it myself, but that's just my opinion on it. Asuma, yeah, probably S. Suigetsu, Yamato, yes, S. Orochimaru, COVID, losing a little bit of value lately, but now with a lot more crit teams coming in, he's getting more value up again. So a lot of people were overlooking him, but he actually might prove to be quite useful in the future. Itachi, yes, and then Jiraiya, S as well too. Definitely still the best tribe gauge character for increasing your tribe gauge. Naruto Kage falling off quite a bit, but still extremely hard to kill and does heal himself and has a stackable damage reduction rate up. And then you'll also have Orochimaru with the only silence in the game. Rock Lee and Hinata I don't believe belong here. They should probably be sitting in A+, to be quite honest with you. That's again my opinion. So this we can probably remove down here eventually, but that is essentially it. Now I'm not going to go through the A+, guys. At this point, these are just fill-in characters. If you have them, they're still decent to go through for Arena, but in my opinion, stick to the S, SS, and triple S, of course, if you can. For new players, guys, focus on getting these characters more than anybody else. Now, the question a lot of people are going to have is, where do Itachi and Sasuke fall? Now, the new Sasuke definitely will fall under the S class because he is the most powerful single-power nuke in the game right now in terms of percentages, and he does have a decent debuff on that, which is, I think, damage reduction increase down, and damage increase rate down, and damage reduction rate down. But the problem is these other two things are all chakra related, so that kind of makes them fall off a little bit. But Itachi, on the other hand, right now I'm going to tell you guys straight up, he's going to be SSS in every single class. He is probably single-handedly the best character they've released up to this point in terms of buffs and damage. He pretty much does everything. He's an AT and a D unit all in one. The only thing he lacks, realistically, is a status effect, which is a stun. Or a burn or anything like that. That is the only thing this man lacks, but just consider him SSS in all categories. Alright, so that is the Arena tier list, guys. I'm going to go back here real quick, and let's jump into the next item, which is going to be, I believe, NWT. Here we go. So another PvP mode. And we're going to cover this the same way. We're going to cover SSS, SS, and S, okay? So in terms of what is offered here for SSS, not much has changed. The only addition has been Datara to this. So Kakashi's still the king of it because of its instant jutsu. Surprisingly enough, Kiba is going to sit there as well because he's the only other character that has instant jutsu. For new players, if you don't know what that is, essentially you don't have to build your bar up the moment the turn starts. If you get their vitality maxed, their first vitality maxed 20, they instantly will have a jutsu available to them. Usually results in a one-shot KOing a character. Datara, of course, brand new character. We talked about how as powerful as AoE is. He sits on top of there now as well too with the other kings. And then we got Heavy OG, who will probably never drop because he's the only character in the game that has 2 built-in stuns, one in his jutsu and one in his second skill, as well as the insane amount of crit he does when he does his jutsu. I think he sits at almost 100% at this point. SS, you get Sasori, SR Heavy, which is still an amazing character. And guys, I didn't list him in my last video about which characters to level up because he's a limited time character, so not everyone's going to have him. But if you have him, he still proves to be one of the best characters in the game. Sage Mode Jiraiya, really important here, guys, because his buffs don't occur until there are 6 or less opponents, and in NWT there's always 3, so he instantly gets his buffs and he'll almost never die. So I think he actually belongs in the triple S category, in my opinion. Gaara SS is good. I pretty much here, A, you're going to see pretty much all of these characters who are stunners or big damage dealers or tanks are going to sit in this place. So A, for example, is a stunner and a tank, so he's great. Naruto, again, I mean, he's decent for NWT. He can tank and he can nuke pretty well. Naruto Kage, very hard to kill in NWT because of his buffs. Definitely deserves to be there. Guy is great because he can actually provide the Cell, which is a 3-man team anyways, a ton of buffs to stay alive, plus he's a nuke for a tank. Sasuke Karin is straightforward. Kama will be pretty straightforward. Daru actually is great because he can give those tanks a boosted ability to nuke, so he's fantastic for NWT, especially for a full tank team, at least for that Cell. Orochimaru, of course, having that silence is key because it's at 60%. Mama Sakura, pretty straightforward there. Still one of the best characters in the game in terms of an SR. Boruto just nukes like a tank, has insane attack buffs on himself and the party. So really, really valuable in NWT. Is a little squishier though, so keep that in mind as well. So put him with people who can protect him. CM2, straightforward, has one of the best stuns and highest percentages due to his built-in status effect rate, and the list goes on, guys, right? So definitely the S-Class, SS, and SSS is what you want. And remember, as good as these characters are, guys, in NWT and in Arena, it won't matter how good your team is or how good your setup is. It's all going to come down to speed at the end of the day. But if you have speed and you have these characters, you're definitely at an advantage to be one of the top players on your server. So keep that in mind. Power does matter, speed matters more, team build matters more. Alright, so we're not going to bother going through the A's. You guys can take a look. I think personally though, Sai needs to be a little higher up because he does allow jutsus to happen more often. And in NWT actually, you get more points by performing tribes. So definitely keep that in mind, guys. I think he deserves to be a minimum S, probably even SS, to be honest with you. I love him, I use him, and he does wonders for me. A class here, B class here, C class, and D. Of course, Porianos is by herself. And we talked about where Sasuke and Itachi goes. Itachi's going to be triple S. Sasuke, on the other hand, in my opinion, is actually going to sit on SS because of how much his nuke does and the fact that he gets his own chakra. And NWT, that's so important because he'll be pulling off his jutsu before everybody else and be getting a ton of damage through for you. So there you have it for NWT. All right, let's jump into the next one. So what do we got here? Oh, that was NWT already. My apologies, guys. Let's go back again. Next one we're going to be covering is the Abyss. Okay. So the Abyss, as you guys know, is an event that happens every 2 weeks, and they alternate between Abyss and FG. Abyss is the 30 floor one. So we're going to talk about that right now real quick. So as you can see at the top here, the list changes a little bit. We have Deidara still sitting at SSS. We have Kakashi at SSS. Hebi, Kirin, who always belongs there because he's still one of the best characters in the game, and Sage Mode Jiraiya. Nothing will beat these guys in a team. They are easily the best characters to have. The only extra addition I would add to that would be Sai, to be honest. He sits in SS, which is still fantastic, but I think he brings way too much value in any PvE content, so I think he belongs in the triple S category. But besides that, Sasori, I think, also belongs in the triple S, but we're trying to keep it at a minimum. So, I mean, if you have to pick and choose, this kind of makes sense, right? So Sasori in SSS, oh sorry, in double S, and Gaara in double S, due to his tanking abilities and guard rate and guard damage rate. Of course, Jiraiya because of his buffs and his tribe rate abilities, and the fact that he does pretty decent damage as a T character. Sai because we talked about his chakra battery, and of course Deidara for his stun and crit rate, crit damage, and status effect minus defense, buffs and debuffs. And then in S category, you've got the two Sasukes, Hebi and CM2, which definitely belong there. You've got Kamui, Kakashi, which absolutely belongs there. Pain, you can make an argument that he probably belongs maybe in SS because of his buffs. Same with Kamui. The both of them could actually be argued to be SS in my opinion, but you know what? S is still really good place for them, and they do belong to get credit. If you have them, they're going to do a lot of work for you. Mama Sakura, nothing changes there. Now Shikamaru makes an appearance here because he actually does a fantastic stun. He does the highest single target damage rate reduction in the game. He also buffs all T units, which are plenty in this game, and he actually does decent damage himself. So definitely a really good character to have if you need somebody as a stunner and somebody who is a buffer. Okay, Toby, that's the new character, sits in S. Definitely deserves it. Again, very niche for D characters, but still has a stun, which is key in Abyss, and a burn. Hidan, of course, sorry, not Hidan. Kakazu, also same thing for damage. He does insane damage as an AoE dealer. He might not be the same percentage as the new power creeps, but he does have that plus damage if the opponent has 50% or more. So really good character and stacks a ton of damage increase rate. Hidan, of course, we talked about single target nuke and provides all your A's a ton of utility and buffs. And also has the status effect suppression, which reduces status effects from coming in and landing on you, right? So that's a big one. Naruto, of course, the nuke for all Ds and crit rate up, and also has the ability to heal himself. Sakura Blossom is huge, gives chakra, gives tribe gauge, gives damage rate reduction up, and then of course Orochimaru gives the silence. And the new Sarada gives a ton of buffs plus Confuse, which can be great in Abyss because it'll mess up the rotation, because you do in the final floor fight 9 different people that are extremely overpowered. So there you have it, guys. The A+, you guys can take a quick look. I'm not going to go through that completely, but definitely if you have the A+ and the A team, use them as your feeder group. So get the opponents to get their tribe gauge up and use it, and that way you can get your tribe gauge up for your AS and SS and triple S team to come in and dominate and clean up. Now that's really recommended for people within the power range of 350 to 450. Anybody 500 and above, you can probably clear with just the one team. Alright guys, so that covers Abyss. You can take a look at the rest of it down here. Again, Sasuke will probably belong in S for my opinion here, just to his buffs and debuffs and his damage. And then Kakashi, of course, we talked about, will be triple S in all categories in my opinion. He definitely is the best character right now in the game. Alright, let's jump from Abyss into FG. So where's my boy FG? Oh, there, not there. There it is. Okay, FG. There we go. So a little bit different. FG is mostly dominated by A units. So the SSS category has a couple more in here. So we have CM2, Hebi, Kakashi, Deidara, and Sai. with these guys, that's pretty much half the team, guys. You guys can finish it if you have the triple S team and the double S put together. You've pretty much completed Abyss at power levels. I'd say 420 to about 420 plus, let's say. Okay, so those definitely belong there. Haku and Boruto, believe it or not, are almost essentials, so definitely put them in. The reason why they're sitting here though is because if you don't fight a D unit, or so if you fight a D unit, they kind of lose their value a little bit, while these guys above will still keep their value for the most part because of the buffs they provide and the damage they do. Kamui, of course, also an SS because of the buffs he provides and the fact that when you kill somebody or uses skill 2, he does give you attack. And if you kill somebody with Kamui, or if you use Kamui and somebody kills somebody, you will get yourself damage increase rate, crit damage, and crit rate up, which are massive for the entire team. Kirin, of course, for his buffs and the fact that he does damage rate reduction with his skill 2 and his AoE jutsu. And Data, of course, because he gives you the crit rate buff, the crit damage buff, the crit suppression debuff on the opponent, as well as the status effect defense down. So keep that in mind. He's fantastic. Between the two, you want to alternate sometimes, or sometimes you use both. Alright, for S category guys, if you have them, definitely use them. They are still very viable and they can help you finish the FG. So we have Pain, Kiba with Instant Jutsu, who's a still very popular rare among endgame users. We have Jiraiya for the Tribe Gauge and nuking D units. Same with Shikamaru for the stun and the nuking of D units and buffing your T units. Naruto, if you don't have another nuke that can hit about 800k, he's decent in there. Not as strong as Boruto or the rest of the SSS class, but still decent to use. Neji's actually great because he gives you crit rate, crit damage, chakra, plus nukes pretty well, so definitely belongs there. Kakazu, great for AoE as an A unit. Sasori, of course, great as a D unit and does a ton of other debuffs like poison and damage rate reduction and damage increase rate reduction. So a couple things that he can offer you, but still he's going to be niche against A units only. Mama Sakura, if you're lacking attack power, she can give you attack boost just for that cell. Same with Sarada, if you need attack boost for damage increase and attack boost, she provides that. Plus she does damage rate reduction at a high rate to D units. So if you're fighting a D unit, she's great for that, as will be Toby. So Toby belongs there too. B is not bad because of a stun that he offers, and he stacks attack, so he can give you same amount of damage as Naruto you are, with a little more utility. If you're using Sage Mode Naruto, make sure you're fighting D units. He will do crit up and he will do attack up on himself, and he will hit really hard. So he'll be great for any FGs that have D units as the main opponents. We talked about Toby already. Itachi, same thing. Nukes T units, I'm sorry, and will be fantastic for that. He does decent damage, probably sitting a little higher than most of the crowd here, but he is very situational for T units specifically. Tamari is here because, and Tsunade here, so if you don't have side, Tsunade is a great replacement for one specific cell, and then for the rest of the fight, because she uses a chakra battery after she uses her jutsu, and when her turn is up. So she's a great replacement for Sai if you don't have Sai, but she will never be on par with him, right? Tamari, on the other hand, is great for all A units, especially for fighting T units. If you're A unit heavy, she does actually boost attack for quite a bit for all A units, so she does belong in the S category. Kabuto is very similar to Haku with a lot less power, but he does do defense down and damage rate reduction down on all D units. So again, if you're fighting a D unit, he belongs there. And then of course Berserk Naruto just hits really freaking hard. So if you guys have that team, you're pretty much set. This here will beat Abyss, FG most likely, as long as your power sits around the 400 to 420 plus. You shouldn't have a problem if you get the right rotation. And remember, new players and veteran players, if you don't know this, you can F5 to refresh your screen before the fight is over, or close your app, and you will restart over again without losing a turn. That is very important, so you can play around with your team structure and, you know, hopefully get your crits that you need and finish the event. I'm not going to bother with A plus and A or B or C or D. If you have those and that's what you're relying on, you're not finishing the event, so just do your best, get the highest percentages possible, and then try your best to build on these characters right now until the new power creep shows up. Now again, as I said this before, Itachi and Sasuke are not here, but they will sit on SSS for Itachi, and actually in my opinion will be either SS or high S for Sasuke. Both are fantastic characters for FG, so definitely use them if you have them. Alright guys, this has been Payne. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope this tier list helped. If you have any questions, make sure you visit the official tier list Reddit. That's linked to the description. Big ups to Binato, Blue, Tribes Lab, I'm part of that team, so I'm not going to big up myself, but for the Tribes Lab, for putting the effort and helping the community out and putting the work in here, guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But remember, this is a tier list with a lot of the top players agreeing and disagreeing at the same time. So if you feel like some of these characters are misplaced, hey, that's okay. Not everyone is going to agree on a tier list, but this for sure is a foolproof success tier list. So as in, we use these characters and we finish events, whales, free to plays, you name it, we all do it. So I hope it's helped, and if you, again, please leave your comments in the comment section. If you guys like this video, you guys want to keep supporting me, please subscribe. I've noticed that a lot of people watch my videos but they're not subs, so I wonder why. So I'm just, you know, show some love, subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to grow and continue growing and giving you guys great content, and thank you for everybody for noticing the editing I've been doing. It's kind of nice to have that noticed and also mentioned in my comment section, and appreciated, of course, because it does take me some time to do it. Even though I don't need to, I do want to continue giving you guys the best content possible. Anyways, enough of my chatter. There's a tier list, guys. Have a great day, everybody. Again, any further questions, feel free to reach out to any of the Tribes Lab team. I'll put a credits at the end of this, and also feel free to send a comment in the comment section for any questions you may have. Have a great day, guys.